Good evening to everyone out there in radio, TV, and YouTube land. Welcome to another episode of Healthwise. I am your host, Dr. Monique Lescott, in collaboration with the St. Kitts Nevis Medical and Dental Association. Good evening again, and thanks for joining us tonight. I have a neat and compact talk, discussion, whatever you want to call it, tonight. It would just be myself. I wasn't able to get a guest so soon after the music festival, and I could understand why, so I will just toe the line myself tonight. So tonight's topic will be what you need to know about meningitis. It's something you only hear about sometimes, but when you do hear about it, it's usually under very serious circumstances. Just the other day, the UK was experiencing an outbreak of the meningitis outbreak in the Kent area with at least, I think it was a spike of 27 cases back in March of this year. Just a second. It was primarily linked to the meningococcal group B, the MENG, and is centered around the University of Kent in Canterbury, with additional cases in local schools, one in higher education institutions in London as of March 20th of this year. So, like I was saying, meningitis, it's been catching a lot of attention lately, and so we just wanted to just shed a light on what it is, what it's about, and yeah, we're going to start. So, can we have the first slide? So, yes, thank you. As I was saying, what we need to know about meningitis. First, let us just understand some anatomy when it comes to where the origins of the disease and the word meningitis even comes from. So ahead here on this slide, what we have is the different parts and layers of the human skull. You have the skin, the periosteum, the cranium, which is basically the bone, and then just underneath the skull cap or the bone of any human being, you'll have the dura mater, the arachnoid matter, and the pia mater. Now, these are all very important structures when it comes to what we're going to discuss this evening. Let's have the next slide. So, basically, we're going to speak about first what is the meninges, or what are the meninges. So the meninges protect, support, and anchor the brain and spinal cord while facilitating cerebrospinal fluid circulation and vascular support. I know that's a mouthful. The meninges are basically located right on the dura mater, those structures that I just mentioned. The right underneath the skull, there's like an encasement. And basically, meningitis is when you have inflammation of this area of the brain, and it causes a whole heap of problems. Let's continue. So what is meningitis basically? Many things can cause the lining of the brain and spinal cord to swell. Basically, it's the swelling of the spinal cord and the lining of the brain, like I told you. So meningitis is inflammation, swelling of the lining of the brain and the spinal cord. Many different things can cause meningitis. And accurate diagnosis is important because treatment depends on the cause. And I will stick a note on this particular point. Let me continue with the slide. Be aware that bacterial meningitis, no, the slide before. be aware that bacterial meningitis is a medical emergency and should be treated as soon as possible. The reason why I was emphasizing that a proper diagnosis is really important as soon as possible, as soon as the onset of symptoms become evident, because sometimes, especially in children, it can be a very, very emergent situation. And sometimes children especially can have other conditions that can mimic meningitis. So the differentials is really, really important. That can be the difference between whether the patient survives or succumbs. So we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to have a few short words from our sponsors, and we'll come back.
Looking for a new vehicle? Horsford's Automotive Division has exactly what you need. Reliable performance, modern design, and a team committed to getting you on the road with confidence. From everyday drives to exciting upgrades, quality and service come standard. Ready to refresh your home? Visit Ashley Furniture Home Store at Horsford's. Discover statement pieces, stylish accents, and comfort designed to elevate your space instantly. Planning a project? The Building Center provides premium paints mixed to perfection and expert guidance every step of the way. Bring your ideas to life with ease. Automotive, home style, building essentials, all in one trusted destination. Make it simple. Make it smart. Experience everything Horsford's has to offer today. Try Horsford's first.
Good evening and welcome back again. My name is Dr. Lescott. I'm your host for this evening. I'm sorry I don't have a guest, so we can have a more open and more broad dialogue on the topic this evening, which is what you need to know about meningitis. But as I mentioned before, I know many persons would not have been available at such short notice after music festivals, so I'm just beg your indulgence to just bear with me this evening. And so we'll get back to our discussion on meningitis. Yes, we were discussing what is meningitis. We already said this, so we can move on to the other slide. So the general symptoms, we have headache, stiff neck, fever, nausea, vomiting, photophobia, which means being sensitive or more light sensitive to the eyes, and altered mental status, confusion. Next slide. So symptoms in babies, like I said, can be quite severe, and so the subtopic of this one is because, like I said, in adults the symptoms and onset is threatening, but in children it is even more so. Some babies mostly end up in the ICU, so the symptoms in babies are particularly noted, and parents are asked to be on the lookout if there is any threat of meningitis in the environment. Sometimes if you guys travel and stuff like this. So in newborns and babies may not have, or it may be difficult to notice the classic symptoms listed above. So instead, babies may be slow or inactive. They may be irritable. They will vomit. They feed poorly, have a bulging fontanelle, that's the soft spot on the baby's head, and have abnormal reflexes. Now, sometimes all of these things that are being noted will not sometimes be as, how should I say, noticeable in maybe young, inexperienced mothers, but it's worth a try to note these symptoms for future references for those of us who are caretakers especially, or who have a lot of children that congregate or play and interact in a shared space or something like this. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about just appearance, but caretakers as well need to be mindful of these things. Let's have the next slide. So there are many different types sorry, not many different types, but there are a few types of meningitis. There's a bacterial meningitis, we'll start there. So the bacterial meningitis is the most serious form and can be life-threatening if not treated promptly. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, England, they had a outbreak of the meningitis bacteria. So that was a, how should I say, like a health emergency where the international community, like the WHO and those international bodies, they were keeping watch and surveying the situation in England because of the nature of bacterial meningitis and how easy it is to spread. Common bacteria include the Streptococcus pneumonia, the Neisseria meningitis, and the group B, Streptococcus. Symptoms often appear suddenly and are severe, including fever, headache, stiff neck, nausea, and sensitivity to light. However, us here in the Caribbean, we know that sometimes dengue fever can also have some of the symptoms, especially the fever and the photosensitivity. So that's why having an accurate diagnosis at the very onset is really, really critical and important. So treatment requires immediate antibiotics, sometimes administered intravenously, and hospitalization may be necessary for support care. So this is basically how the meningitis bacteria would look under the microscope. We can move on. So apart from the bacterial meningitis, we have the viral meningitis. Viral meningitis is the most common type and usually less severe than bacterial meningitis. It is often caused by non-polio enteroviruses like herpes, the simplex virus. We have mumps, measles, or mosquito-borne viruses like the West Nile. So symptoms include headache, fever, stiff neck, and a light sensitivity, but most cases resolve on their own within 7 to 10 days. Treatment is generally supportive, including rest, fluids, and over-the-counter pain relievers, though antiviral medications may be used for the herpes-related cases. So this is telling us that, for the most part, many of the strains of meningitis, especially the viral one, those that are caused by viruses don't have any specific vaccine that can produce a cure. So for the viral meningitis especially, the ones that are caused by viruses, supportive care is until 7 to 10 days until the virus is, I guess, sufficiently dealt with by your immune system. That's how this one will be treated. We also have fungal meningitis. So for the fungal meningitis, which is rare and typically occurs in people with weakened immune systems, immunocompromised people, common fungi include the Cryptococcus, the Neoformans, the Cocci diviades, and the Meningitis, and the Candida. So symptoms are similar to other forms of meningitis, and treatment involves antifungal medications. We're going to take a few short messages, and we're going to come back and we're going to discuss further the topic. Thank you.
Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice. You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice. Home or away, any time of the day. Credit or debit, right in your pocket. With National Bank card, so many benefits. Oh yeah, the choice is yours. Just come and embrace it.
Live your life your way with purchases big or small. Mango, nuts, breadfruit and all.
You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice, nice, nice.
Thank you and welcome back. So we're going to continue on our discussion and we'll elaborate a bit more. We left off from the fungal meningitis. So now we're at the parasitic meningitis type. The parasitic meningitis now is also called the eosinophilic meningitis. It's caused by parasites such as rat lugworm, or Beliscarius prochianis. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. It is uncommon and can be severe, requiring specific antiparasitic treatment. So for the non-infectious meningitis occurs when inflammation of the meninges is triggered by conditions other than pathogens that I mentioned, meaning when you have a meningitis type symptoms that doesn't involve the parasitic, the fungal, the virus, or the bacterial infection. So these types can include drug-induced aseptic meningitis caused by medications like non-steroidal NSAIDs, the non-steroidal painkillers, and the antibiotics. So we also have carcinomatous meningitis. This occurs when cancer cells invade the meninges. So we also have post-traumatic meningitis resulting from head or brain injuries. So basically, the meninges in the brain can become swollen or inflamed for any one of these many reasons that I've just mentioned. Many persons, when they hear meningitis, they suspect or they feel like as if it is bacterial related. That's not always necessarily the case. And also, we've had situations where untreated ear infections or otitis media, untreated or poorly managed otitis media, can also mimic meningitis because of where the infection site is located in the inner ear. It is close enough sometimes where the infection can spread to the meninges, and sometimes patients can have meningitis-like symptoms, but the origin is actually an ear infection. So that's something that we can also think about. It is rare, but I've seen it more than once. It happens on those rare occasions where an ear infection isn't properly or is poorly managed. It can mimic meningitis-like symptoms as well. So if healthcare providers suspect meningitis, they must collect samples of blood or cerebrospinal fluid. That's the fluid surrounding the spinal cord. This can be done sometimes, especially when it comes to the cerebrospinal fluid. They usually do a spinal tap. Okay? So the laboratories can perform specific tests depending on the type of infection suspected. Knowing the specific cause is important because treatment differs depending on the cause. So, World Meningitis Day is apparently a thing. I didn't know that there was even a World Meningitis Day. I didn't realize that there was some sort of worldwide international awareness that healthcare professionals around the world, they observe this day to be each year. It's on October 5th. So the observance aims to raise awareness about meningitis, its symptoms, and vaccines that can help prevent it. We'll take a few short breaks.
Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice. You can spend it when you want it. How you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live it all, there be right in your pocket. With National Bank card, so many benefits. Oh yeah, the choice is yours. Just come and embrace it.
Live your life your way with purchases big or small. Mango, nuts, breadfruit and all.
You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice, nice, nice.
Good evening and welcome back. My name is Dr. Monique Lescott. I'm your host for this evening's episode of Healthwise, and our topic for this evening is what you need to know about meningitis. However, we're going to take a small pause to introduce our medical personality spotlight, and the name of this person is Shaquilla Walters Warner. She is our personality spotlight this evening, so we'll invite you to have a look.
Our medical personality is Shaquilla Walters Warner. Shaquilla Walters Warner is a public health nurse and registered midwife with more than 5 years of nursing experience, having served in the profession since July of 2021. She holds a Bachelor of Science in General Nursing, a postgraduate diploma in Infection Control and Prevention, and a Master of Science in Public Health Nursing from Walden University, as well as a post-basic certificate in midwifery. She has also completed professional certifications in advanced supervisory management and managing conflict and communication. Shaquilla says she has always been passionate about promoting health, preventing disease, and supporting individuals and families across our communities. Beyond nursing, Shaquilla says she enjoys baking and expressing creativity through food, which has allowed her to connect with people in a different but equally meaningful way. Our medical personality is Shaquilla Walters Warner.
At The Cable, we believe in giving back because when our community thrives, we all do. That's why, as a company, we make it our mission to touch the lives of everyone in St. Kitts. We spearheaded the renovation of JNF Hospital lobby to ensure better care for all. The Cable sponsors free Wi-Fi in every community center across St. so no one is left in a increasingly connected world. We stand with communities through every moment, big or small, in culture, education, youth development, and more. Y a ti también, comunidad latina. Cuenta con nosotros. Estamos con ustedes. And when it comes to customer service, we set the standard. We're just a call, click, or visit away because you matter to us. Join the company that truly cares. The Cable, more than service. We're family. Somos familia. And we're proud to always give more where it matters.
Thank you and welcome back. That was Miss Shaquilla Walters Warner. Thank you, Miss Walters Warner, for the medical personality spotlight. Now we're going to move right into the medical bulletin. Dr. Jensen Morton interview with Dr. Angel Olivier.
Good day, I'm Dr. Jensen Morton. I'm the Director of Health Projects and Strategic Initiatives in the Ministry of Health. And today my presence is being graced by someone that is, in my opinion, a mini celebrity in the field of medicine. But I'm going to have him give you all of the introductions, and that's Dr. Angel Oliveira. Good day, Dr. Oliveira.
Good day.
All right, could you please just tell the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis just a bit about yourself?
Okay, I am cardiologist, interventional cardiologist for more than 40 years experience. I work in Cuba in the Cardiothoracic Center of Santiago of Cuba, and I have experience in Jamaica in the KPH, the Kingston Public Hospital, and in the Heart Institute. I have experience too in Africa. I worked for 2 years in Accra, Ghana, in the Cardiothoracic Center.
All right. Well, we're pleased to have you here. So, Dr. Oliveira marks the first time that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has placed on its staff a full-time interventional cardiologist. So not just a cardiologist, but an interventional cardiologist. For the past 5 years, the #1 cause of death in St. Kitts, it has been cardiovascular disease, heart disease, or symptomatology secondary to that. So us adding a cardiologist to our staff at the hospital is actually something that's really, really important to ensure that the persons in the Federation that are suffering from these ailments, that they're able to get the screening and treatment that they need. So what are some of the services that we can look forward to with the hospital now having a cardiology service?
Initially, I think it's possible to start with the clinical consultation, cardiology consultation, echocardiogram, ECG interpretation, and evaluation of the patient with the heart condition, inpatient and outpatient.
Okay. So that's going to sound pretty good. I know people have been very excited, especially about the possibility of being able to access echocardiograms a little bit more easily. And something that tends to frighten people a bit is a lot of times if they hear about what they consider to be a sudden death of someone, it tends to raise some alarm bells. But in lots of instances, it tends to be something that is related to the cardiovascular system. And if that person was undergoing regular screenings of that type, it may have been something that could have been picked up early. So the addition of your service, I think it can help to calm some of the fears of some people, and it could actually assist in saving countless amounts of lives.
With the implement of the service or the cardiology service in the hospital, increase the capacity of the hospital for care the principal incidents of the disease in this environment. The cardiology service, I think, is necessary. The patient know the patient or the population in general know what is the principal symptom of the cardiac disease, especially the heart disease. The principal symptom of the heart disease is chest pain, shortness of breath, palpitation, lead swelling. In this case, the patient have one or different symptom like this. Especially when have risk factor, it's necessary come to the general doctor practitioner in the health center immediately, and after that referral for the hospital for cardiac evaluation.
All right. So that's some sound words of advice, and you'll be hearing more about Dr. Oliveira and the services being offered at the Joseph and Franz General Hospital with regards to cardiology and all aspects of heart care from us in the future. So thank you, Dr. Oliveira.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
That was our medical bulletin board with an interview with Dr. Morton and Dr. Angel Oliveira. And so we're going to continue our discussion on meningitis, what you need to know about meningitis. And what I didn't mention before is the vaccines available for meningitis. One of the main vaccines for meningitis, people would assume mostly, is for the meningococcal bacteria. The MenACWY, that's a conjugate vaccine that protects against the certain serogroups. So the MenB vaccine, this is a recombinant protein vaccine. It protects against serogroup B. So I know this is a bit of a mouthful and some of us might not understand the medical jargon, but bear with me. So the MenABCWY, that's the pentavalent vaccine that covers all 5 serogroups in one shot, approved by the FDA in late 2024 under the brand name of Penbraer, right? So the MenACWY is the standard shot recommended for the all proteins, and the MenB is handled differently. Okay. For infants, remember I mentioned before that meningitis is a far more serious matter when it comes to babies. So, of course, their treatment and vaccination process is slightly different from adults. So we have the HIB vaccine protection for infants. Before effective vaccines existed for the Haemophilus influenzae type B, was the leading cause of the bacterial meningitis in children under 5. So the HIB vaccine dramatically changed this. It's given as part of the routine infant immunization schedule overseas. I'm not sure of here, and I'm sorry, I don't have another member of our Ministry of Health to guide me as to what we have here in terms of vaccine protection against meningitis. We'll continue our discussion. So the HIB vaccine uses the conjugate design. The bacteria's outer coating, or the sugar molecule called the polysaccharide, is too simple for young children's immune system to recognize on its own. By chemically linking it to a protein carrier, the vaccine transforms it into something the immune system can mount a strong lasting response against. So we also have the pneumococcal vaccine. So the bacteria's best known for causing pneumonia and ear infections, as I mentioned, but they also cause this also causes meningitis. So the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, or the PCVs, protect against multiple strains of the bacteria. The current versions include the PCV15 or the PCV15 and the PCV20 or PCV20, which covers 15 and 20 strains of the pneumococcal bacteria cause of the meningitis, respectively. So these are recommended for infants as part of routine childhood immunizations, and certain versions are also recommended for older adults and people with specific health conditions. So I guess what needs to be mentioned, there are some persons with immunocompromising conditions and so would need extra protection against meningitis, particularly if they come from an environment where there is a high chance of exposure. So some persons have a higher risk for the meningococcal disease and need additional doses beyond the standard schedule or vaccines. So these would include people that have a functioning spleen that was removed for whatever reason or doesn't work properly, those with persistent deficiencies in part of their immune system, or the complement system of the immune system, people taking medications that inhibit the immune system, and microbiologists who routinely handle meningococcal bacteria in the lab. These persons are more likely at higher risk than the rest of the general public. For these groups, Mengi booster is recommended at least once per year after finishing the primary series, with additional boosters every 2 to 3 years for as long as the increased risk continues. So the MenACWY boosters follow a similar ongoing schedule for high-risk individuals. I know that sounds like a lot, but I mean, it's better than risking your life with meningitis. But common side effects of the vaccine are well tolerated. But in children aged 2 to 10, the most common reactions are pain, redness, firmness around the injection site, along with irritability and sleepiness. In adolescents and adults, injection site pain, headache, redness, and muscle soreness are the most common and frequently reported side effects. These typically resolve within 1 to 2 days. Serious reactions, however, are rare. So I will wrap up my discussion round about here. I will go through the slides again. We can sum up and basically summarize what we've been discussing earlier. So what is meningitis? So the meninges protect and support and anchor the brain and the spinal cord while facilitating the cerebral spinal fluid circulation and the vascular support of the body. Meningitis is inflammation or swelling of the lining of the brain and the spinal cord. And as we have discussed, there are many different things that can cause the swelling of the lining of the brain and spinal cord. An accurate diagnosis is important because treatment depends on the cause. Common symptoms include headache, stiff neck, fever, nausea, vomiting, photophobia, and altered mental states. We have different types of meningitis. There's the bacterial meningitis, there's the viral meningitis, fungal meningitis, parasitic meningitis. And then we have the non-infectious meningitis. For non-infectious meningitis occurs when inflammation of the meninges is triggered by conditions other than a pathogen, other than a virus, a bacteria, a fungus, or a parasite. So this can include drugs like NSAIDs or antibiotics, carcinomatous meningitis. This can occur when cancer cells invade the meninges, and post-traumatic meningitis results from head or brain injuries. If healthcare providers suspect meningitis, they may collect samples of blood or cerebral spinal fluids through a spinal tap and would be processed by a lab. Lastly, World Meningitis Day is observed on October 5th of every year. So I hope this was an informative presentation on meningitis. I know it's not a topic that is usually widely discussed, but we thought it was fit to bring awareness as there have been reported outbreaks in the UK, and we have a lot of our nationals that travel to those places, so it's our responsibility to make you guys aware of what's happening out there. So, as always, thank you very much for staying with me for this long and this length of time in the program. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.